Hi, welcome to another episode of Webcam Sessions. Hope you all had a very happy holiday season and new year. I'm really excited about 2017 and all the different things that are going to be going on, including some new projects I'm excited to be announcing. So stay tuned for some different things going on there. Today we're going to be talking about one of the very first things I actually ever learned on the ukulele. And you know, when we're playing the uke, there's a lot of different styles and techniques, whether it be strumming or finger picking, thumb picking. Finger style is a word that's used. And a lot of these things mean the same type of thing. And today we're going to be learning a technique that encompasses one of those styles. We're going to be learning something that's called the three-finger roll. And with the three-finger roll, we're really learning how to do what's called three-finger picking. And if you check out the workshop that I did with Ukulele Underground, I actually teach four-finger picking pretty at length with all the technique and different pattern examples and things, which uses four fingers to pick. So today we're going to be doing it with only three. And so this is kind of a fun one. So this is compatible with both high G and low G, baritone, everything else, but it does sound different depending on which one you do, and it's not more correct or less correct on one or the other. Let's go ahead and dive in. So with this technique, what we're going to do is we're going to start by trying to get comfortable with the position that this picking will want to have. And that position is going to be with our three fingers essentially covering three of the strings, because we can't possibly hit all four with all, three fingers. So the first thing we'll do is take our thumb and we're going to place it on our C string, which is the one that's kind of the second from the top there. And you want to place it at a 45-degree angle, right where the fretboard meets the body, the sound hole of the ukulele. Some people have fretboards that end here, so you kind of want to just do it right at the tip of the sound hole there. So thumb 45 degrees, just like so. Next step is we're going to take our index finger and we're going to place it on our E string. And we want to try to place it on our E string perpendicular to the string. So we don't want to be slanting one way or the other. We want to be perpendicular to it. And you'll notice I'll set it offset a little bit from the thumb and sets it more in the middle of the sound hole or towards the middle than the thumb would be. The last step is taking our middle finger, and placing it on our A string here, again, perpendicular to the string. Now, the reason I said ring finger there is because so often when we use four-finger picking, our ring finger's on the A string. But with this technique, the middle finger is there, and that gives us a little bit more power with the middle finger than our ring finger would. So we've got our thumb on the C string, our index on the E, and our middle on the A. And what we want to try to do when we're doing this pattern is make sure that we're striking the strings in a very articulate way that will give you the best sound possible. With the thumb, that means as it releases off the string, you want to catch the edge of the pad of the finger, and if you have any sort of nail coming over, which you don't need, but if you do, you want it to essentially squeeze into the nail as it releases. So it doesn't just touch the nail, but the nail kind of catches at the end of it with the pad of the finger. If you don't have much nail coming over, again, totally fine. You're just trying to compress the pad of the finger to move it. And one tip that I have here is try to keep your thumb straight as you do this. Don't bend here. You want the power of the picking to be coming from the base of the thumb as opposed to the tip, just because it's easier to get a good tone. It's not to say that you can't do this and get a good tone. It's just much harder because you're using just the tip of the thumb to get your tone. And having that, again, that whole finger engage will give you a much fatter, more body, more volume, just in my opinion, a better tone, right? So that's with the thumb. Now the index and middle fingers are a little bit more tricky. The index finger will be that perpendicular shape, as will the middle, but we'll talk about the index first. And as we pluck the string, what we want to do is not this. We don't want to be hooking the finger in the string, pulling out, and then releasing. That's going to give us a really loud sound, but it's going to be brash and unwieldy. It won't give you a good tone. So rather what we do to get a good tone is we're going to actually have the finger come up, compressing here at this first joint a little bit as it makes the motion. You'll notice that the index finger is going to move the string, and the string kind of moves the index finger a bit to move that backwards. And then we come straight up and out just a little bit so that we don't strike the other strings with the finger. So that looks something like this. That's going to give you a much more clean, consistent tone than if you were to hook and pull out. So it's all about the style in which it releases. And just a couple more angles here. The fun of cameras is trying to find as many different angles as possible to show you guys. So here's another one. So So you'll notice that the finger, again, bends back a little bit as it makes the motion. Now the middle finger is going to do the exact same thing. So the middle finger on the A string is going to bend back just a little bit when it releases. And if you have a little bit of nails, like I do, essentially it's the same as what happens with the thumb. The pad of the finger is going to compress into the nail as it releases. So it's not just releasing off the nail. And to me, that's a very important thing. If you just use your nail, you can get dynamics in the way of getting louder and softer, but you don't get what's called timbre. And what timbre is like the sound of the sound. So brighter versus warmer. You know, it's like two people can sing the same note at the same volume, but they'll sound very different because they're two different people. And so by using just a little bit of nail, you can control using more or less of it and create different sounds and textures with your ukulele, which is so important. But we'll do a whole webcam sessions on nail care and playing with nails soon enough, which I know a lot of people are very excited for. I only half say that tongue in cheek because, well, when you're in your upper 20s and you're talking about nail care on webcams, it gets a little weird. But anyways, back to what's important here, 3-finger picking. So we've got these 2 fingers, each striking the string coming upward and the thumb going downward. And right now we're stationed on our C, E, and A. There's one more important note here, which is our pinky can anchor on the side of the ukulele, but it can only anchor on the side if it doesn't adjust what the fingers look like as they're playing here. You'll notice I'll have some cock in my wrist, which is really important because with that wrist, you need it to not be perfectly straight to get that angle. If you're like this, you'll notice that the fingers will come forward, and now my fingers are running parallel to the strings when we want perpendicular. So the pinky is allowed to go down as long as by putting the pinky on, it doesn't change everything about the way that you're playing it. So pinky is okay to be an anchor on that side. So now what we're going to try to do is the actual roll itself. We're going to play our C string with our thumb. Then we're going to play our middle finger on the A string, and then our index on the E. So it's thumb, middle, index, thumb, middle, index, thumb, middle, index. And as we do this, we're actually thinking of the number 3. So it's 1, 2, 3. And this whole thing is a row of 6. It's in what we call 6/8. Again, we'll talk about that another time, but for the concept here, we need to count to the number 6. So we have 1, 2, 3. And the 4, 5, 6 will be taking your thumb, moving it up to the G string, playing that, 4, and then still using your middle finger on the A string, 5, and your index finger on the E, 6. So what you did essentially is the first round is C, A, E with your thumb, middle, pointer, and the second round is G, A, E, again with your thumb, middle, pointer. So the whole rotation, very, very slow, looks like this. C, A, E, G, A, E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a really cool technique because it's a pattern that rotates, and it's called the 3-finger roll because your fingers start rolling over each other to create this sound. I actually learned this technique from a Jake Shimabukuro DVD that's over 10 years old now at this point, and it was a really fun one for me to learn at first. And so this technique is a really great one to kind of replace strum patterns. When you're wanting something very regular, it works really well. Meaning, if I'm playing a chord progression and I don't want to strum it because that's too much volume, this technique can allow me to play it and get just a little bit more kind of softness to it. So let's say that I'm just playing, C to G7 instead of doing something like, all right, I can do something like, and that can be a really cool way to get a very different sound than what you might typically get. So that's the 3-finger roll. Try playing it in all sorts of different ways. We'll work on some different examples with this, as well as another technique called the 3-finger tremolo, which we'll be working on in the next couple of weeks. It's kind of the sister technique, very similar. And these techniques, again, are a type of finger picking. And to kind of go back to what I was talking about at the beginning, there's a lot of words used to describe a few things: finger style, finger picking. These are basically the same things with a lot of different ways of doing them. I typically prefer to use 4-finger picking, which incorporates the ring finger in there, because then I can have 1 finger stationed per string. And again, I actually did a live workshop that's available for purchase on the Ukulele Underground Marketplace. Check that out right here. And it's only a few dollars, and it'll teach you actually going all the way through this 4-finger picking concept, which is very different than the 3-finger we just worked on here. And so 3 fingers fun, 4 fingers fun. There's no real right or wrong way to do it. The trick is just getting as many different methods as possible comfortable so that you can do whatever fits the song best. So be sure to check out this every week. Throughout 2017, we'll be making a new video each and every week, and I'm very excited about it. If you haven't already, check out the Ultimate Strumming Course. I believe the sale should be ending, but it may still be live at the time of this video. I'm not quite sure, so check it out if you haven't. The link will be below. And I hope you all have a great week and a great start to 2017, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much.